Okay, welcome back. We'll finish up our work on realism versus naturalism. When we last left off, we were talking about um, different structural traits that, in general, tend to typify realism, and those that tend to typify naturalism. Of course, this isn't an easy one-on-one true correspondence. There's a lot of grayness around the edges here, but it is important to notice these differences. We left off talking about plots. Remember, the realism plots tend to put everybody back in their appropriate social order. Maybe their order has gone up or down based on their character, their performance, what kind of heart they have. Now, with naturalism, good people, naive people, innocent people go down. Um, it's not a happy scene at all. Um, One of the major themes in realism is that if you have goodwill towards people and if you perform good deeds, this can save you or help to preserve you as a human being within society, within culture. It will help, build a livelihood and a sense of protection for yourself. Now, in naturalism, we get something very different as far as themes go. And here we have the notion that people are basically doomed or damned because there are parts of their own nature they don't understand. Think about all those unconscious desires and irrational desires, all that Freudian stuff that we've been talking about in earlier episodes. So that those urges that human beings have trouble controlling, their socially unacceptable desires, and all those kinds of things tend to derail them and keep them from ever locking into the social grid, if we want to call it that. So they're going to be brought down by the parts of themselves that they cannot control, even though they may not know that they're the ones bringing themselves down. Now, what have we read here that would fall under the naturalism category? We do have The Awakening. It's a bit of a sad ending. I know one of you is working on that. I'm not going to give it away. The Cadian Ball, The Storm. I don't feel like that's necessarily so bad. It seems like a pretty happy ending at the end of The Storm to me. Charlotte Perkins Gilman's Yellow Wallpaper, of course, on the other hand, seems to build in a sense of doom from the get-go. And part of it is due to her tragic nature. And this is not to blame the protagonist at all. But she's creative and she's artist and she's maybe on the depressive side, but the culture takes that particular character trait and doesn't know what to do with it. And it makes things worse and worse and worse for her. Frank Norris's Fantasy Printanière, that's a little bit more on the rare side. I wouldn't worry about that. Maggie, A Child of the Streets by Stephen Crane is an excellent example. The Open Boat, which is heavily anthologized, about a bunch of sailors trying to get to shore. Really rough, doesn't end well. Also, his other short stories, The Black Riders, War is Kind, also fit in there too. Again, I think Red Badge of Courage would do fine. Drives her sister Carrie. Jack London's To Build a Fire. Also The Mexican. I think you could also put The Pearl in there, which is a novella that he wrote. The Education of Henry Adams. I don't know about that one. I think I'll take that one out. Realism. Mark Twain's Adventures of Huckleberry Finn. Again, things end up okay. And a lot of the plot gears are turning and grinding against, you know, what are social expectations and manners and norms of the day, and um, in what ways that's a good thing, but in what ways that is just simply window dressing for larger issues. We all know people that have perfect manners, but they are just doing the wrong thing like all the time. And then, of course, you've got Ambrose Bierce's Current Side Owl Creek Bridge at Chickamauga. I would say they're both realistic except for the endings. Henry James's Daisy Miller. He's a tough read. He's not really my favorite. Edith Wharton's the other two. Whoops, looks like we lost the slide there. Let me go ahead and put it back up. Different current slide. Come on, buddy. Now we're back here. Yop, yop, yop. Hate the editing here. So then we have Kahan's Imported Bridegroom. And again, that's very much a tale about morals and social norms and proper place and class. And everything kind of ends up the way it should be. Flora's not happy that she didn't get her doctor. Azrael Struan's not happy either. Shia, the young, very gifted religious student, the Talmudic student, is very happy because he gets to go dive farther and farther into his intellectual pursuits. And we also see him learning about social theory and political theory at that time, too. So that's a very different kind of ending. And then finally, we'll end it up with Suis and Far and Mrs. Spring Fragrance. Again, we see people ending up kind of where they were before after negotiating their way through what is sometimes a minefield of manners and expectations and social contracts, both spoken and implied. Now, next video, I'll do some work on corridos. I try to splice it into this one, but it just didn't work. I know this one looks a little janky, but bear with me. I'll put that one up in a sec.